What is Stoicism? The ancient philosophy that makes you mentally strong. Most people think Stoicism is just an ancient philosophy, a collection of quotes, a few hard-sounding words about pain, discipline, and self-control. But that is not why it survived empires, wars, betrayal, exile, humiliation, grief, and the collapse of entire worlds. Stoicism endured because it speaks to the one battle that never changes, the battle inside the human mind. This philosophy was born in Athens, Greece, around the early 3rd century before Christ, after the death of Alexander the Great, in a world marked by instability, political change, and uncertainty. Its founder was Zeno of Citium, a philosopher from Citium in Cyprus who arrived in Athens after losing his wealth in a shipwreck. That loss changed the direction of his life. Instead of rebuilding only his fortune, he began searching for something deeper, something no accident, no betrayal, and no disaster could take away. That search became the beginning of Stoicism. The name itself comes from the Stoa Poikile, or painted porch, a public colonnade in Athens where Zeno taught his students. That detail matters because Stoicism was never meant to stay locked inside elite circles. It was taught in public in the middle of real life, because it was designed for real human struggle. From the beginning, Stoicism was not about escaping the world. It was about learning how to live in it without becoming its prisoner. Zeno taught that the good life was not built on pleasure, status, money, or praise, but on virtue. To the Stoics, virtue meant living with wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control. This was the foundation. Not chasing comfort, but building character. Not demanding an easy life, but becoming the kind of person who can endure a difficult one without losing dignity. Stoicism was never about pretending pain does not exist. It was never about becoming cold, distant, or emotionless. It was about becoming stronger than the chaos trying to govern you. It was about learning how to stand firm when life does not obey your plans. How to remain clear when your emotions want to drag you into confusion. How to keep your dignity when the world tests your patience, your pride, and your peace. After Zeno, the philosophy was developed by Cleanthes and then Chrysippus, the great system builder of Stoicism, who helped shape it into one of the most powerful schools of thought in the ancient world. Later, Stoicism moved from Greece into Rome, where it became even more practical and personal. That is where we meet the names most people know today. Seneca, born in Cordoba, in Roman Hispania, around 4 before Christ. Epictetus, born in Hierapolis, in Phrygia, around 50 after Christ. And Marcus Aurelius, born in Rome in the year 121 after Christ. Each of them carried Stoicism through very different lives. Seneca lived among political power, wealth, and danger. Epictetus was born enslaved and taught that no chain is stronger than a weak mind. Marcus Aurelius ruled as emperor while writing private reflections in the middle of war, pressure, illness, and loss. That is why Stoicism has weight. It was not built by people hiding from suffering. It was refined by men who faced it directly. At its core, Stoicism arose from the need to answer a brutal truth. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can govern how you respond. That single idea changed everything. The Stoics saw that most human misery does not come only from events themselves, but from the judgments, fears, attachments, and illusions we add to them. So they created a philosophy of inner discipline, a philosophy that trains the mind to separate what is in your control from what is not. A philosophy that teaches a person to remain clear in confusion, measured in pain, and steady in the face of chaos. This is why Stoicism survived for more than 2,000 years, not because it sounds intelligent, but because it speaks directly to human weakness and human potential. It was born in ancient Greece, strengthened in Rome, and carried through history because every generation eventually discovers the same thing. The world can be unstable. People can be cruel. Fortune can change in a moment. And without inner discipline, the mind becomes easy to break. So when we ask what Stoicism is, we are not asking about a dead philosophy from the past. We are asking about a living system of mental strength, forged in hardship, built by philosophers who understood suffering, and passed down to people who still need the same lesson now more than ever. And before we explore how this ancient philosophy makes a person mentally strong, we need to face the modern condition that makes Stoicism feel so urgent today. People are surrounded by noise, yet starving for inner order. Why so many people feel broken in a world of constant noise? You were not born to live this distracted, this reactive, this emotionally exhausted. Yet that is exactly how millions of people wake up every day. Their minds are full before the day even begins. Notifications, expectations, comparisons, opinions, pressure, urgency, fear of missing out, fear of being left behind, fear of not being enough. And little by little, a person stops living from the center of their own reason and begins living from the pull of everything outside them. This is one of the deepest reasons people feel broken today. Not always because life is unbearable, but because the mind is constantly invaded. Modern life has created a strange form of suffering. A person may be physically safe, materially comfortable, and still feel inwardly unstable. They may have more convenience than kings once had, yet less peace than a philosopher sitting alone in silence. That contradiction reveals something important. Comfort does not create strength. Stimulation does not create clarity. And constant connection does not create inner stability. The Stoics understood something that now feels more urgent than ever. The human mind becomes weak when it forgets how to distinguish between what is happening outside and what is happening within. Most people do not collapse because of one tragedy. They collapse because of repeated mental surrender. They hand over their emotional state to strangers, to outcomes, to social approval, to temporary setbacks, to imagined futures, to things that never deserved that much power over them. Epictetus warned about this with brutal precision. In Discourses of Epictetus, Book 1, Chapter 1, the spirit of his teaching is clear. Some things are up to us, and some are not. But the modern person lives as if everything outside must obey their emotional needs. They want certainty in a world that offers none. They want universal approval from people who do not even understand themselves. They want control over time, outcomes, reputation, and the behavior of others. Then, when reality refuses to cooperate, they call it anxiety, frustration, anger, or hopelessness. The Stoic calls it confusion about what belongs to your control. That confusion grows stronger in a noisy world. Noise is not only sound. Noise is mental interference. It is the endless flood of messages telling you who you should be, how fast you should succeed, what you should own, how attractive you should look, how people should respond to you, how your life should unfold. Noise creates internal weakness because it trains the mind to depend on external validation. Once that happens, peace becomes fragile, identity becomes unstable, discipline becomes harder. Every criticism feels personal. Every delay feels humiliating. Every obstacle feels like an attack on your worth. Seneca saw the danger of this long before the digital age existed. In On the Shortness of Life, he exposes how easily people allow their lives to be stolen by distraction, vanity, and the demands of others. The tragedy is not only that people waste time. The deeper tragedy is that they waste themselves. They become strangers to their own judgment. They react before thinking. They consume before reflecting. They chase before choosing. They do not pause long enough to ask the most important question: is my mind serving me, or is it being ruled by everything around me? That is why so many people appear functional and still feel internally fractured. They are productive, but not peaceful, busy, but not directed, entertained, but not fulfilled, surrounded, but inwardly alone. They know how to respond to messages, but not how to respond to pain. They know how to perform, but not how to endure. And when real hardship comes, rejection, failure, betrayal, illness, uncertainty, loss, they discover that noise has made them fragile. Marcus Aurelius wrote for this exact battle, not the battle of public image, but the battle of private self-government. In Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 4, Paragraph 3, his mindset points toward a hard truth. The mind can remain its own place of order if it stops being dragged by every outer disturbance. That is the forgotten strength. not the power to dominate others, but the power to remain undisturbed by what should never have governed you in the first place. So when people ask why Stoicism still matters, this is the answer. Because modern suffering is often less about pain itself and more about inner disorder. A person who cannot govern attention will struggle to govern emotion. A person who cannot govern emotion will struggle to govern action. And a person who cannot govern action will slowly feel their life slipping into chaos, even while appearing normal on the outside. This is where Stoicism becomes more than philosophy. It becomes rescue. It enters at the precise moment a person realizes that the world is loud, unstable, demanding, and impossible to control fully. Not to offer escape, but to offer structure. Not to remove difficulty, but to build someone who can withstand it. And once you see why the world keeps making people mentally weaker, you are ready for the deeper question. What did the Stoics build within themselves that kept them from collapsing under pressure? Stoicism, the inner system that teaches you how not to collapse. Stoicism became powerful because it did not merely describe suffering. It built a method for surviving it without losing your mind, your dignity, or your direction. This is what made it different from empty inspiration and different from passive resignation. The Stoics were not interested in comforting illusions. They wanted to train a human being to stand upright in a world that can turn against you without warning. At the center of this philosophy is a hard and liberating truth. Your peace cannot depend on things that were never yours to command. This is where Stoicism begins to transform a person. It teaches that external events are unstable by nature. People change, fortunes shift, bodies weaken, plans fail, reputations rise and fall, and life rarely asks permission before introducing pain. But within all this instability, one domain remains yours: your judgment, your choices, your character, your response. That is the inner ground the Stoics trained to protect. Epictetus built this idea into a discipline of freedom. In Enchiridion of Epictetus, paragraph 1, the foundation is unmistakable. Some things are within our power, and some are not. That was not abstract philosophy. It was psychological training. If you attach your emotional state to what other people think, you become their prisoner. If you tie your worth to results, you become unstable with every setback. If you demand certainty from life, you guarantee disappointment. But if you root yourself in what belongs to you, how you think, how you choose, how you act, then you begin to develop something rare: mental independence. This is why Stoicism is not emotional suppression. It is emotional governance. The Stoic does not deny fear, anger, grief, or frustration. The Stoic studies them, questions them, and refuses to let them become ruler and master. When anger appears, the Stoic asks what judgment produced it. When fear rises, the Stoic asks whether the threat is real or imagined. When pain arrives, the Stoic asks whether suffering is being intensified by resistance, story, and self-pity. This is not coldness. This is disciplined awareness. Seneca understood that the mind often suffers more in imagination than in reality. In Letters from a Stoic by Seneca, letter 13, he points toward the human habit of multiplying pain before it arrives. That insight alone makes Stoicism feel strikingly modern. How many people break down over conversations that never happen, losses that have not occurred, opinions they have not heard, futures they have not lived? Stoicism interrupts that spiral. It forces the mind back to the present, back to reason, back to what can actually be done now. But this philosophy goes deeper than self-control. It also teaches the Stoic art of turning adversity into training. The average person sees an obstacle and immediately thinks life is against them. The Stoic sees an obstacle and asks what strength this moment is demanding. Patience, courage, restraint, humility, endurance, clear thinking under pressure. This is why Marcus Aurelius could write in Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 5, paragraph 20, with the spirit that what stands in the way becomes the way. He was not glorifying pain. He was revealing a mental shift. Difficulty is not only something to survive, it is something that can shape you. That idea changes everything. Rejection is no longer just rejection. It becomes a lesson in detachment and self-respect. Delay is no longer pure frustration. It becomes a test of patience and discipline. Criticism is no longer automatically an insult. It becomes a chance to examine whether there is truth in it, and if not, to let it pass without surrendering peace. Loss is no longer only devastation. It becomes a confrontation with impermanence and a call to value what was never guaranteed. Musonius Rufus, the Roman Stoic teacher of Epictetus, pushed this practical spirit even further. He taught that philosophy must be lived, not admired, not repeated, but embodied. A person does not become strong by agreeing with wisdom. A person becomes strong by practicing it when emotion is hot, when pride is wounded, when comfort is unavailable, when the easier path is weakness. This is where Stoicism stops being interesting and starts becoming transformative. The inner system of Stoicism is built from repeated acts of self-command. Pause before reacting. Examine the impression. Separate fact from interpretation. Return to what is in your control. Choose the response that preserves character. Accept what must be accepted. Act where action is possible. Let go where control is an illusion. The more a person lives this way, the less chaotic life feels, not because life becomes easier, but because the mind becomes less available for inner collapse. That is the real power of Stoicism. It gives a person structure when emotions are unstable. It gives perspective when circumstances are confusing. It gives discipline when comfort tries to seduce the will into weakness. And slowly, almost without noticing, it changes the way a person walks through the world. Less desperate, less reactive, less afraid of discomfort, more deliberate, more anchored, more difficult to break. And once a person understands that mental strength is not a gift but a practice, a final challenge emerges. Knowing this is not enough. You must decide whether you will continue living at the mercy of circumstance or begin building a mind that life cannot easily destroy. Build a mind that life cannot easily destroy. Now you see what Stoicism really is. Not a relic from the ancient world. Not a philosophy for scholars alone. Not a mask for people pretending not to feel. It is a discipline of inner strength, created by men who understood suffering, uncertainty, power, loss, pressure, and the constant instability of human life. It survived because it tells the truth most people spend their lives trying to avoid. You will not control much of what happens around you, but you can become the kind of person who does not fall apart because of it. That is the invitation now. Not to admire Stoicism from a distance, but to step into it, to stop treating emotional chaos as normal, to stop surrendering peace to opinion, delay, rejection, fear, and the unpredictable behavior of the world, to stop waiting for life to become gentle before deciding to become strong. Because mental strength is not built in comfort. It is built in moments of friction, in the pause before a reaction, in the decision not to answer anger with anger, in the refusal to let one setback define your identity, in the discipline of returning your attention to what is yours to govern, in the courage to face pain without dramatizing it, in the humility to accept that not everything was meant to bend to your will. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, not to impress the world, but to keep his own mind aligned. That alone is a lesson. The real battle is not public, it is private. It is the battle between impulse and reason, between ego and character, between weakness that seeks excuses and discipline that chooses responsibility. Every day that battle is there. Every conversation, every frustration, every disappointment, every temptation to complain, blame, collapse, or run. The question is no longer whether Stoicism is useful. The question is whether you are ready to live differently because of it. Whether you are tired enough of being emotionally pulled in every direction. Whether you are done letting external things dictate your internal state. Whether you are willing to build a mind that remains steady when others panic, clear when others become bitter, and disciplined when others surrender to impulse. This philosophy asks more from you than admiration. It asks practice. It asks honesty. It asks that you examine your life and ask where you have become dependent on what should never have ruled you. It asks that you notice where your peace is fragile, where your pride is reactive, where your fears are exaggerated, where your attention has been captured by what does not deserve ownership over your mind. And that is where the transformation begins. Not when life changes, but when you do. Not when the world becomes quieter, but when you stop obeying its noise. Not when pain disappears, but when pain no longer destroys your center. So take this seriously. Do not leave Stoicism in the realm of ideas. Use it. The next time life frustrates you, observe your judgment. The next time fear rises, ask what is actually in your control. The next time someone provokes you, protect your dignity more than your pride. The next time hardship comes, meet it as training, not as proof that life is against you. Because the world does not need more distracted minds, more fragile egos, or more people ruled by circumstance. It needs human beings who can endure, think clearly, act with principle, and remain standing when everything around them shakes. Build that mind, train it, guard it, strengthen it until chaos loses its power to command you. And if this message spoke to something real inside you, stay with this path. Because the strongest life is not the one with the fewest problems. It is the one led by a mind that refuses to be conquered.